The film Disclosure, a documentary on trans representation in media, gives many great examples of why the current representation of trans characters is very much negatively impacting how our society views trans individuals. Characters tend to be underrepresented, made fun of or harassed, seen as sexually deviant, portrayed as having a mental disorder, or being psychopathic and played by cis actors. Similarly, in the writing Skirt Chasers, Why the Media Depicts the Trans Revolution in Lipstick and Heels, um, it describes how female trans characters are almost always depicted as the deceptive and pathetic transsexual, which supports the narrative shown in Disclosure. Oftentimes, the directors and producers writing the characters have no trans members, which perpetuates the negative stereotypes put in place by societal views and the Hays Code, which is something that restricted portrayals of members of the LGBTQ plus community in media. Things are slowly improving, but not fast enough or good enough for us to give up on fighting for proper representation in our media. When trans characters do exist in television and movies, they're made to look unattractive and deviant. They're often sex workers, murderers, or have something mentally wrong about them. As Laverne Cox, who I love, the producer of the movie, put it, I think for a very long time, the way in which trans people have been represented on screen have suggested that we're not real, have suggested that we're mentally ill, that we won't exist. Some of the most critically acclaimed movies representing trans individuals have the characters played by non-trans actors and actresses. Some examples being Dog Days, The Crying Game, Boys Don't Cry, and The Danish Girl. This is dangerous as it inherently causes viewers to associate trans individuals as someone playing a role, since the actors are only trans in the universe of the film or show. Additionally, these characters are typically either killed off or are shown killing others, something that reinforces the negative ideas that trans individuals are wrong or deserve to be punished. It can also cause trans viewers who resonate with trans characters who ultimately commit suicide to think that suicide is a viable and necessary option and that life never gets better. Moreover, there has been an alarmingly high number of scenes where people immediately throw up after discovering that they had kissed or felt attracted to a trans individual, causing a fear of this response in trans populations and making them less likely to come out as transgender. As said by Cox in Disclosure, Hollywood is teaching people that the way you react when you see a trans body is to vomit, which is just abhorrent and completely false. Everyone is beautiful and valid in the body and the gender that they choose to identify with. Even though representation has improved slightly with shows like Orange is the New Black that gives trans characters a proper narrative and invokes empathy for the characters, there is still much to be done. For example, trans characters are still underrepresented, especially Black, Indigenous, people of color, trans individuals, and often still tend to have trans individuals being abused, killed, or committed suicide. This can be attributed to the Hays Code, which did not allow the media to have any deviance on air, which included having LGBTQ plus characters. To get around this, writers could show trans characters, but only if they portrayed them in a negative light or showed them being beaten, killed, or committing suicide. Another trope is trans women always having to be dressed very feminine or wearing lots of makeup. It is not enough to be a woman. You must be an attractive, stereotypical woman, or people will see you as a man. This is so harmful to trans women, as not everyone who wants to fall within this stereotype, and many find themselves being harassed if they do not do so. Since most people do not know a transgender individual personally, the majority of writers get their understanding of trans individuals through past media representation, causing new media to also follow the rules of the Hays Code unintentionally, or also intentionally in some cases. We need to start including trans individuals in the populations that create our media so that these negative stereotypes and improper representations are not carried into our next generation. We need to do better about making sure that trans individuals are portrayed by trans actors. And we must do better and teach society how to properly interact and view trans individuals, as they are far too often outcast and harmed for nothing other than the fact that they do not fall into the typical gender norms. We need to show transgender joy and love and appreciation, and then maybe our society will change for the better to start viewing these individuals more as human, and people will better know how to interact with trans individuals in a way that won't be harmful.